AEW reportedly turned down the opportunity to sign Bret Hart as an agent/producer for the company, instead only wanting him to be an on-screen character, specifically a manager, leading to the WWE Hall of Fame and not signing with the company. Details on that, plus Roosh posts a cryptic tweet possibly hinting at a future outside of AEW, an update on the start time for AEW Collision changing this week for Saturday night's episode. Cody Rhodes reveals what he said to CM Punk prior to his final AEW promo. Conan has revealed he has fired the person who attacked Don Callis after the latest Triple Mania event, and Aaron Solo reveals he is indeed under contract to All Elite Wrestling. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling. Let's start off talking about this story about Bret Hart possibly being turned down by AEW. An absolutely staggering story considering the wealth of experience that the WWE Hall of Fame has. Again, a really interesting story this. Now, despite being idolized and copied and replicated by notable top AEW stars such as CM Punk and the AEW World Tag Team Champions FTR, it seems as if AEW previously turned down the chance to sign Bret Hitman Hart. Pro wrestling writer Brian R. Solomon recently took to Twitter in reaction to the news that Orange Cassidy has begun working as a producer/agent in AEW, questioning why veterans in AEW such as Sting, Dustin Rhodes, and Billy Gunn haven't been tapped for that kind of role instead. Following this, Solomon then revealed that while working on one of his books, he had been told by Bret Hart that he had once been turned down by AEW when the Hitman previously pitched to work as an agent for the company. According to Solomon, AEW instead wanted Hart to join as an on-screen manager role, similarly to Arn Anderson, Jake the Snake Roberts, and Tully Blanchard, something that Hart was not interested in doing. Solomon writes on Twitter, quote, "I'm actually a big fan of Orange Cassidy and his work, but in a company that has Arn Anderson, Jake Roberts, Taz, Billy Gunn, Christian Cage, Chris Jericho, Dustin Rhodes, and Sting in the locker room, shouldn't they be the ones being tapped to be road agents? When I recently interviewed Bret Hart for my book, he told me that he offered to agent for them, but they only wanted to bring him in as a manager like Tully, Arn, Jake, etc. Imagine having the ability to have Bret Hart coach your talent and saying, no, just be a TV character." Now, despite being there to unveil the AEW World Championship at Double or Nothing 2019, Hart has not featured in AEW since then, despite constant references to him and, of course, AEW's association with the Owen Hart Foundation and Dr. Martha Hart. So, what do you make of this story? Do you believe what Bret is saying? Of course, he has said the similar story about WWE before, suggesting that he offered to agent for that company, but he was turned down by WWE because they weren't interested in part-time road agents at the time. So, is this a case of Bret being mistaken, or do you believe what Bret is saying? And is this a massive faux pas by All Elite Wrestling to not have Bret Hart under contract and be a road talent and coach some of the talent in a producer role? Let me know your thoughts about this in the comment section below. Really interested to know your opinions on it. Now let's talk about Roosh, because he has posted a very cryptic tweet on social media. AEW star Roosh has been a name discussed among wrestling fans over the past week, with his future with the company up in the air. Roosh signed a one-year deal with AEW last May, which would make him a free agent very soon if he does not sign an extension with the company. Dave Meltzer reported that Roosh's future with the company is in question, with WWE said to be interested in bringing the Mexican star in. Roosh's real-life brother Dragon Lee made an appearance on SmackDown last week, as well as took part in a segment backstage with Rey Mysterio after the show. In the latest update on Roosh's ongoing saga, he took to Twitter today to share a cryptic tweet putting over his brothers Dragon Lee and Dralistico. He writes, quote, "We will take over the wrestling world. I am proud of my brothers, and a brother's bond will never be broken." Now, while Roosh's tweet could be him simply shouting out his brothers as they take over the wrestling world, the timing, along with him recently praising the AEW fans as the best in the world, is rather interesting timing. Former AEW star Brian Pillman Jr. is set to join WWE, with a deal reportedly being in place between the two sides. Dragon Lee teamed with Nathan Frazer to defeat Los Lotharios on last week's NXT show. So, what do you make of Roosh's tweet? Is this just a case of him praising his brother, or does it hint at a future outside of AEW? A bit of an update on AEW Collision this week. Of course, it's a big show featuring that big tag team championship main event, but the start time has actually been tweaked just a little bit. This week's episode of AEW Collision on TNT, set to take place at the XL Center in Hartford, Connecticut, will feature the AEW World Tag Team Championship match between FTR and Better Than You Baby. Per PW Insider, the show has seen a slight change of time. The show, which was originally set to begin at 6 p.m. Eastern, is now set to begin at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Last week's episode of AEW Collision saw CM Punk team with Darby Allin in the main event to face off with Ricky Starks and Christian Cage. Ricky would cheat to pick up the victory for his team, continuing his heel turn and ongoing issues with Punk following his own Heart Tournament victory. Last week's episode of the show also saw FTR respond to Adam Cole and MJF ahead of their title match on this week's show. The merchandise for Cole and MJF's team is reportedly the highest selling shirt of any kind for AEW in 2023. So there you go, a bit of an update as to the start time for this week's episode. Now, Cody Rhodes, one of the biggest stars in WWE right now, and he's also actually revealed and reflected on his final promo in AEW prior to his departure from the company, revealing a conversation he held with CM Punk prior to cutting his final promo. A week prior to Cody's final AEW match on January 19, 2022, Cody would address the live crowd one last time in a controversial promo that peeled back the curtain and referenced the infamous June 2011 pipe bomb promo from CM Punk in WWE. In a recent appearance on Sam Roberts' Not Sam Wrestling, Cody detailed his final promo and whether he knew that it would be his last inside of an AEW ring. Cody said, quote, "I think it's easy for me to say now, oh, I definitely knew, but it wasn't the case. I didn't know. The last thing I did at AEW, no one really knows, the last thing I did was coach a match. I wasn't the best coach. I'm more of a let you know what do you want to do, and then we can talk about it later with Ruby Soho and Nyla Rose. That was the last thing. I remember walking out the door. They did fine. It wasn't anything to do with them. I remember thinking, I think I'm leaving." Cody continued to discuss the content within the promo itself, that being Punk's Las Vegas pipe bomb at his building the Forbidden Door that led to the eventual formation of AEW and his lack of a heel turn despite some of the fans turning on him. Cody explained, quote, "That promo, I remember I mentioned it to Punk as well. Hey, I think I'm going to say this. I'm not a fan of blindsiding anybody, where we're terrible at his social media. My opponent just nuked me, then you nuke him back. All right, no trust. We're at the peak level of fervor. I look at it now and we call it the exit interview. Maybe selfishly, egotistically, I wanted to remind them, I appreciate the company has changed. I do. Please know, though, there is no company had these things not have happened. Other things had to happen. Jericho had to do his stuff. Bucks had to do their stuff. Omega had to do his stuff. Moxley had to do stuff. He's a big part of it too. I don't give him credit enough. I just wanted to let them know the other part was sincerely this being a heel, saying you're not going to be a heel. It was just too meta." The promo and the TNT Championship ladder match the following week on January 26 episode of Dynamite would in fact be Cody's final contributions in AEW, of course later re-emerging in WWE for WrestleMania 38 on April 2nd, 2022. The precursor to the formation of AEW, that being the All In event in September 2018, was recently confirmed to be covered in the upcoming Cody Rhodes Peacock documentary, including footage from the Being the Elite YouTube series. So what do you make of Cody Rhodes' comments about his conversation with CM Punk prior to leaving AEW, as well as revealing that actually the final thing he did in AEW was coach a match between Ruby Soho and Nyla Rose? A bit of an update when it comes to the incident regarding Don Callis at the AAA Triple Mania event. Now, if you don't recall or you hadn't heard of this story, Don Callis was actually attacked physically at a press conference following AAA's Triple Mania event in Tijuana, and the AEW personality was reportedly injured and taken to a hospital afterward. The attacker has been revealed since then, and he has been relieved of his professional duties. Speaking on a recent episode of the K100 with Conan and Disco, Conan revealed that he was producing the event's press conference brawling segment between Kenny Omega and Konosuke Takeshita, which ultimately led to Callis being attacked. After hearing Callis complain about the incident, Conan made sure that the attacker was found and dealt with accordingly. Quote, "I was stunned. I couldn't believe what I had seen. The guy disappeared and I was like, the guy that grabbed Don, he needs to be found before he leaves the effing arena. I went there and I effing berated him and I got him fired. He's very lucky my boys weren't there. They would have handed him his ass." Conan also elaborated on the report that he was sent regarding the instant. According to the former WCW star, it stated that the attacker was a reporter. However, Konnan has since disputed that claim. Furthermore, he noted that some reports claim that the attacker was a photographer, which is also factually inaccurate. However, he did share some light on the attacker's background. This effing guy, who I guess from what the promoter told me, he does security for him, and he was there because the guys who were in the security force were his bros, and he went to say hi to them. Why was this MFer getting involved? So Konnan reveals he berated him and he's fired, and I think maybe that was the right decision. Finally, Aaron Solo has revealed he is indeed under contract to AEW. Aaron Solo first began appearing for AEW in mid-2020, competing almost exclusively as an enhancement talent on shows such as AEW Dark and AEW Dark Elevation. Solo recently reflected on his beginnings in AEW during the COVID-19 pandemic, revealing on Talk Is Jericho that it was then when he signed his contract, which is when an AEW name played a major role in getting him on board with the company. Solo explained, quote, "So I remember we had to do the spit test for COVID, especially with the West Coast guys before we flew out, and I was turning in my test at FedEx, and I had an email from Christopher Daniels, and it said, 'Congratulations on your hard work. We're offering you a contract. Here it is. If you accept it, then sign it, send it back,' and all that." And yeah, it's funny because I remember that day, and I remember being so excited signing it, and then it was kind of just sitting in my bed afterwards. But I had romanticized this entire thing for years because it took me 11 years before I got an official contract, and I romanticized this thing of going into this big office and shaking everyone's hand and all that. Not at all. Regardless, it still gave me what I wanted, so it's okay that my big romanticized signing of the contract didn't happen. But now, first being introduced as part of Cody Rhodes' Nightmare family, Solo would eventually join up with QT Marshall and his Nightmare Factory breakout heel group, The Factory, and later QTV. Despite his beginnings not meeting expectations, the 34-year-old has found himself featured more heavily recently since the QTV faction was formed. So what do you make of Aaron Solo on AEW TV, and what do you think his future looks like in the company? But there you go, guys. This latest AEW news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak for you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.